Oh my goodness. So we're live now. I'm just going to check to make sure that we're also live on my other devices here. And once I see that and see people coming on, then we'll start with our first kind of like I would call it an icebreaker question. So, all
Sounds great.
right.
It's a little chilly. We're finally getting into the 30s here in Philly, so
Oh wow.
I've moved my run later and later in the day to try to not have a frigid run, but I had to have a 30s run this morning, which was invigorating.
Oh my goodness. Well, welcome everybody. This is Progressive HR Live, where I am talking with Alex Richardson of Decision Makers LLC. Alex and I were just talking about the weather. I'm coming from Madison, Wisconsin, and Alex is in Philadelphia. We are just talking about how cold it is right now. So, again, welcome to Progressive HR Live. We're so happy to have you. Go ahead and throw in the comments where you're joining from. What's the weather there? And let us know if you have any questions for Alex and I. We're going to be talking about the job search in a VUCA world today. So welcome, Alex. I'm so happy to have you here. This has been in the making for what, 6 months, 4 months, something like that?
For sure. Yeah. Before I even had a business, we were talking about this. So yeah, no, I'm really, really grateful. And thank you so much for having me on today. Really excited to talk about careers.
Yes, me too. We have a few people joining us, so welcome to Progressive HR Live, and we are going to be talking about the job search in a VUCA world today. So we're going to start out with what I would consider to be like a little icebreaker in the conversation, and that would be a Penn State study found that recruiters were less likely to select candidates who appeared too opinionated on social media. Should we, workers, stay neutral online, and does that affect our ability to get jobs? What do you think, Alex?
It's an interesting space and an interesting time as well to be seeking jobs, with the prevalence of social media, with LinkedIn almost becoming the new Facebook a little bit with the new look and feel. So yeah, I think you really just have to target your audience and know, if you're looking at JP Morgan, maybe it's better to be a little bit more conservative in your approach. Whereas if you're looking at a Google, and wanting to show your inner Googliness, then it could work to your advantage. So I think it's really about knowing your audience.
I would agree with you. So I think you should just be yourself online. I think that can't hurt you getting a job. I think social activism is important. I think that you have to have an opinion. Who wants to hire someone who doesn't have an opinion on something? So that's where I'm coming from. Mike Rochburns is joining us from, I hope I pronounced that right, Mike, from Texas. Thanks for joining us, Mike. All right, on to our next question. So, Alex, what are you currently doing, and when did you start your job search?
Great. Yeah. So I started my job search a couple of months ago. We were kind of chatting back then, and my former employer actually offered really generous exit opportunities for folks in order to stave off having to have layoffs. They, like many other organizations and companies, got impacted by the pandemic pretty deeply. And so, as I thought about my colleagues who were supporting families who had kids who were about to start college, and the university offers a really good tuition package. And I thought about my own kind of single, easily relocatable behind. I thought maybe it's a good time to get out there, see what's possible, kind of get to the leading edge of who's really thriving in the pandemic. And for the past 3 years, I have been a career coach for MBA alumni. And during that, after leaving my role, through my network, I got a lot of folks referring me to Black and brown, people who had career questions. And I realized that a lot of these folks came from backgrounds like mine. They were the first in their families to get an MBA, or the first in their family to become a management consultant. So, these folks really didn't have sort of community resources to draw from outside of work when they had those really hard, tough career situations. And the summer really impacted me with the death of Ahmad and Brianna and George, and the list goes on. And Jacobo Williams out of Rand in September published an article sharing that Black unemployment is the highest it's ever been, sharing that folks who are from underrepresented minority backgrounds tend to be unemployed or laid off more often and have a harder time finding work. And I thought now is a really good time for me to step up, and become a resource to folks who need it. So, with some additional encouragement from the folks who I was helping over these last few months, I launched Decision Makers LLC, which is a business designed to help people with their career needs.
That's awesome. And the question, so you were an MBA alumni career coach for which school?
For the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah, I think that's really big. When we connected on LinkedIn, I was like, wow, the Wharton School, that's pretty cool. So as we're talking about employment and job searching, how is job searching in our VUCA world, different from job searching before? Like, what's changed? I mean, a lot's changed, but what's changed?
Absolutely. Great question. And first, for the audience, for those, I'm a consultant background, so I'm intimately familiar with VUCA. But for those who aren't familiar, VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It was coined at the U.S. Army War College in the 90s to explain the post-Cold World War kind of global strategy and situation. And it was adapted by corporate strategists in the thousands to explain the onslaught of the internet age, right? I think we can all agree that the pandemic has taken each one of those elements individually and ramped it up a notch, right? So, how can companies accurately plan for their talent needs when they're continuously being disrupted in the pandemic? How much information can they share with candidates to make sure that they're staying engaged, even if they don't have something immediate to offer them? How will they make sure that new hires are acclimating to the culture without being able to step foot on site? So, and in terms of ambiguity, right? I feel like that's the biggest killer. No one is sure when the US is going to unfreeze again. No one is sure what the new normal is going to look like. And so when I think about the skills that are needed to survive in this VUCA world in a job search, it's the same that's always been, just more so. More resilience, more patience, more grit than ever before in order to be a successful job seeker right now.
And how do we show those? How do we show resilience, and how do we show grit, and how do we show the third that, refresh me again, what was the third thing that you mentioned?
I'm trying to remember. Resilience, grit, and I guess those are kind of the same. And patience.
And patience.
Yeah, I think it's really in how you show up, right? If you get a rejection from a recruiter, are you emailing them back and saying, thank you so much, I learned so much from you, here's what I'm going to do moving forward, would love to stay in touch, right? Because folks will remember that, and maybe there could be another position that comes the way that could be a better fit for you. Are you, if someone needs to cancel, are you following up with them, making sure they have the information they need, or are you just saying, oh, well, I guess I'm not that important and moving on? So it's really about kind of drilling into the wells of your internal resources and making sure that you're refreshed and able to, put your best foot forward.
I think that's really important, is that, to not lose sight of what it is you're going for. And that, when you said is don't think that you don't matter. A lot of what is happening right now is not about you. Doesn't mean that, you're not the best candidate. Doesn't mean that they don't care about you. It's hard right now. It's hard to get attention. So I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely. Corey, you're still in my thunder. I'm about to talk about that in a later segment, but that's cool. That's great. No, absolutely. Great point.
So So those that are joining us right now, if you have any questions or comments for Alex or myself, let us know in the comments. We'll be happy to answer anything that you have, or if you just want to say hi. And let us know where you're joining from and what industry you're job searching in. So here's another important question that I think that everybody is interested in hearing is, how has remote work affected job searching, interviewing, and careers? We covered a little bit about that, but I wanted to get a little bit deeper into the remote work aspect of it, because it's different than in-person work. And you can't, when we talk about digital transformation, we can't just take what we did in the office and then just transfer it online. It doesn't work. We think it might be able to work, but it just doesn't work.
Absolutely. That's a great question. And, definitely on my mind as well as we're navigating, kind of trying to get to this new normal anyway, or at least reproduce things that happen in the office virtually, and things break down. And, there are pluses and minuses to everything, right? Like, you don't have to get dressed and go into the office anymore. You might be able to spend a little bit more time with your family, or all of your time with your family, depending. And, I'm someone who tries to see the silver lining in tough situations. So, yes, fewer companies are hiring, but that also means those who have business models that are thriving during a global pandemic, right? You look at companies like Amazon or Allied Universal or Citi, who have thousands of postings waiting to be filled right now. Interviewing virtually can be awkward, right? In this camera world where I'm staring into this tiny black screen, and I know that you're on the other end, and so are folks listening. But it also means that companies are more willing to interview and skill up folks who are outside of their physical geographic location, potentially for the first time. And yes, some jobs are less in demand, but there's also even more of a grace for job switchers than we've ever seen before. According to a World Economic Forum report in 2018, American employers are actually anticipating needing to spend at least 3 months of training on over 25% of their workforce in order to help them keep pace with the same jobs and skills that they'll need for 2022. So yes, it's uncertain and everyone's trying to figure it out, but there's also additional support for you to be able to upskill. You look at Udacity, you look at Grow with Google. There are a lot of, Microsoft has a training program. There are a lot of examples out there of places that you can turn to upskill and kind of upgrade yourself to be ready for that new role.
Yeah. And as everybody's making pivots right now is like the perfect time to do it. So what we've learned so far is be patient. It's not about you. Don't worry about it. Follow up, and don't be afraid if you don't have the skills or you're making a career transition or a pivot. It's okay.
Thanks for taking notes, Corey. This is awesome. Usually I'm the one taking
notes. Listening. So what do you think about the current advice that is out there for job seekers?
Look, like, everyone and their mama has advice about how to find a job. Literally, my mom and my sister, who is my second mom, call me every day with their 2 cents about career advice, right? But here's the deal. Most of the advice that you find online is one size fits all, and it's very tactical. So update your resume, reach out to new people, learn new things. And yes, you should be doing all of those things, but so is everybody else. So, each person is going to need to take specific actions in a different proportion in order to be successful to meet their career goals. So try to think of yourself as a chef, right? And yes, you can pull together the basic ingredients of butter, flour, sugar, make a cake, but you're also going to need to add in pineapple or rhubarb or your own special flavors in order to help you really stand out, so that you can win the Great British Bake Off. So a few resources that I find are really providing really, really good insights in this space are Austin Belshak, Lucretia Davis, and also themuse.com. So folks who are looking for, just my picks on really good stuff, check out those 3 folks.
Okay. I would add to that, Fairy Godboss has a few good things for women
okay.
too. Yeah, I've done some work for them, and I've always been very, very happy with the career advice that they do put out there for women. So The advice for that you have for job seekers right now is that, oh, I'm sorry, what you think about the current advice for the job seekers is that, no matter what someone puts out there or what someone says, you still got to remember that you are your own unique, resourceful human. And so just summarizing what you're saying. And
Thank you. So eloquently. I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
So a few people have joined us, and you probably saw some of the comments that I put up. That we have two mics from Texas, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that Shaksuni from Canada,
Hey,
and
Charchuni. Hey, Mike.
and Angelica also from Texas. So
Howdy. Oh, I have a Texas crew here. Hook 'em. I love it.
So if you're just joining us now, go ahead and let us know where you're joining from in the comments. And if you have any questions for Alex and I, we'll be moving on with, where are people getting stuck in their job searches right now?
Oh, so many places. I mean, look, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, right? There's a lot of things to juggle and to try to navigate as folks are trying to figure out their next step. I'm just going to lead with kind of my number one thing that I notice people tripping up on, and that's a lack of self-awareness. And this speaks completely to your point about thinking about sort of internally your own internal compass. And I'm not going to quote Hamlet at you, don't worry, but I will say that folks who, sort of self-sabotage and have that lack of self-awareness tend to be unable to go all in on their job search, unable to maintain a growth mindset in the face of adversity, and also unable to build authentic, mutually beneficial relationships that can lead to new opportunities, like you and me, Green, right? And so, when folks are in this survival mode, in terms of their brain, the brain may be telling them to do things that actually aren't in their best interest. So, it's really important for folks to take a step back if they haven't already, think about what they want for their next step specifically, like what would it look like? Why do they want it? And what are they willing to sacrifice for it? And Tasha Urich does some really great work and research in this sort of self-awareness space. And so, and also once you've reflected on, the things that you're looking for and what you want, I think it's really important to then ground that in reality by stress testing it, right? Find someone, forge a relationship if you don't already have, with someone who's in the space that you want to go into and is doing the work that you want to do. And get your dreams, get your vision out loud, workshop it with them, help them provide necessary insights in order for you to figure out, what is the best course of action forward.
Yeah, so you're talking about going all in. And so I want to know, what does going all in mean? And part of it is, like I heard you say, that to not have a fear around being making yourself or helping yourself become aware of what is it that you actually want.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. Look, I mean, humans like optionality, right? Like, we all like shiny things all over the place. And there are a lot of ways to divide your time. You're looking at job applications, talking to recruiters, working on work samples, being present on social media, taking a new certification or a new course. There's, no shortcut to putting in the work, but each of the things that you're choosing to spend your time on should be focused towards the same end goal. And so perhaps another way of saying, going all in means to stop multitasking on your job search. Do one thing at a time and make sure that what you're doing is building off the last thing. Another thing to keep in mind as you're planning to go all in is to make sure that you choose a pace that is sustainable for the long haul. So you're building for comfort, not speed here. Just to give a quick example, the average MBA alumni takes 6 months to find their new search, right? So if you're working 90 hours a week on your job search, you're going to burn out pretty quickly. So, to recap, I think, try to make sure that each of your steps is building on the last, and also make sure that you're choosing a pace that's going to serve you well in the long haul.
That's great. I know that for me, I don't like doing applications. Like I won't do applications.
Good.
My strategy, I honestly, I'm not trying to say that they're not, well, I am trying to say they're not worth the time. So, I think that seeing job postings online, find out like who's the hiring manager, is there somebody in the company, and directly contact them. And I think in that way, and I've always done all of my job searches that way, is like I don't fill out an application, I don't apply for jobs. I find who's hiring, said, okay, hey, I'm interested in this, and here's my resume. And that way, like it, because they exhaust me, you skip that. Now, if you're someone who loves to do applications, then application away. And to your point, that might be part of the thing. Or okay, you're disagreeing with me.
And part of it is like, and I know we're going to get to this in a second, but like, it's just important, and this is where that self-awareness piece comes in, to understand your odds, right? Like, if 300 people are applying for a role and you don't know anyone at the company and you're just dropping your application blind, you have a fairly unlikely shot of getting that role, as opposed to reaching out. If the hiring manager or someone on the hiring team is willing to respond to you, then that means that they're probably more likely to look at you as a candidate than not, right? So, I think you are organically in your mind kind of weighing the cost benefit of your time and figuring out how you can make your search strategy work for you, which is exactly what you should be doing. So I think that's right. But I think it's really about thinking through those odds. So if you are someone who just likes to drop resumes, all over the place, are you really going to end up with a job you like or want? Eh. And are you really going to have the time to tackle that volume that you'll need to yield success, right? Like so that's what, 9,000 jobs maybe? Like, are you really going to have time in the next 3 months to apply for 9,000 jobs to find one opportunity? Maybe not. So, I think it's just really about knowing yourself and figuring out what key ingredients you need to pull together in your job search strategy that's going to really highlight your strengths.
So I'm really glad that you disagreed with me, because I think that was a very juicy knowledge bomb that you just dropped on us. So I love that. So I'll take back what I say is like, if you like applications, still don't do them, because that's what Alex says. Don't do
That's
them.
right. Don't apply online. And obviously there are nuances, right? Which I'm sure will come out when we get to question answers. But
glad we're having so much fun. So what are the obstacles to going all in? How can job seekers overcome them?
Great question. So I think, and I'm trying to again, take hundreds and hundreds of folks who I've talked to and kind of distill out the top one or two things I've noticed. So at a very, 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 very tippy top high level, the issues that all tend to cause us not to be able to go all in is that we as humans like to be liked, and we as humans like to receive positive feedback. So we as humans like to spend time, and we'll do a disproportionate amount of time on things that make us feel good, that may or may not actually be helping your job search. So I'm going to get all consultancy for a minute, and I apologize, but fight this need with raw data. Audit and measure your time week to week. Figure out in your job search how much time you have to spend, what you're going to spend your time on, what are your clear and actionable goals that you want to hit by the end of the week, and then benchmark your successes, right? Well, I tried this thing and it yielded this result, and that is exactly what I was looking for. Great, I'm going to keep this strategy. And I tried this thing and no one responded, no one cared. Okay, well, it was worth a shot for a week. I'm going to get rid of that and try something else. So it's really about using the data that you're organically getting through your job search in order to fine tune your approach.
No, I completely agree with that. And I don't think you have to be a master's at processes and systems approach to do this, or a master at data. You can I've started keeping Excel sheets for everything that I do.
Yes. Yeah, I love it.
Or you can go into PandaDoc and create all these beautiful, gorgeous documents if you want to spend your time there. But I chose just Excel. So I know a lot of people right now are asking this question because of a lot of the job pivots that we're seeing and career pivots that we're seeing. So I wanted to cover it here. Is that how can we? Oh, sorry, I got the wrong one there. How can we highlight our transferable skills? I think this is really important. Could you talk about it in the sense of how can we highlight our transferable skills on our resumes, and also how can we highlight our transferable skills in person, like e-charisma, like face to face, or sorry, not face to face, but digitally face to face. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think in terms of highlighting your transferable skills on the resume, it's going to be very much of a show me, you know me approach, right? So, have you taken the time to go to JobScan and get a quick, a scan of the job description and make sure that you're mirroring the language, even if so let's say that I'll take my example, right? So I've led a lot of initiatives at universities, and over time I've realized that that's called program management in the tech world. So as I have looked at opportunities and applied for opportunities in the tech world, I make sure to relabel some of those, sort of cross-divisional initiatives, leading initiatives without direct, influence. Like I'm relabeling those. And, folks, when they're looking at your resume, they're spending 6 to 7 seconds on it. And that's not, if it's not a computer, an applicant tracking system who's done the first pass, and that might be it. So just, you really want to make sure you're using the best tools at your avail to show them that you're able to speak their language and you're able to package the work that you've done in a way that makes sense to the person who's reading it. In person, I think there you have to ramp it up a bit, because let's be real, like there's a critical capacity on demand. There are a lot of folks who are unemployed. And so a lot of employers are in the position where they can choose exactly who they want or who they feel they need for a role. So, being able to show them you know them is great. A lot of folks can do that. Then it's really kind of show them your skills. Don't just talk through it if you're doing it in person. So ideally you're able to build something. Ideally you're able to do some career prototyping beforehand to make it easier for the employer to say yes.
I think that's a really great idea. And for what's career prototyping, that's our next question. So what so what is, oops, I did that a little again there. What is career prototyping, and how does that compare to career pathing?
And I don't come from the HR world, so let me just make sure I have career pathing right. So career pathing is offered by some employers, and it gives folks a chance to, kind of build new career skills by working on a project or working for a work stream that's outside of their usual scope. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
So career pathing can be linear. It can be different departments, different industries. It's not always offered by the employer. Sometimes the individual has to path their own career, but it's also it's learning about different departments and whether you want to go up or crossways.
Great, absolutely. And so when I think career pathing, I think that, but the entrepreneurial path, right, where it's completely on the person. Career pathing could be a great option, but there are also some limitations, right? Like you have to get sponsorship from your supervisor. There has to be internal demand for you to take on something that's in your interest. You have to beat out internal competition. And so, let's say that it might be hard to make that leap, right? If you're a trader at a bank and you want to become a user experience designer, it might be a little bit harder to bridge those paths together. Though there are companies like Udacity who are offering upskilling programs right now, and big companies who are taking advantage of those partnerships. But, in my mind, the concept of career prototyping is, being able to take on short-term side projects that would allow you to demonstrate your value in the field. So in the example of our budding UX designer, right? Maybe they go to a local soup kitchen and they think through and redesign the way the traffic and the traffic flow is designed, and maybe they document that online in a Medium article. In addition to giving that person a better sense of whether or not they might actually like doing that job, it also allows them to have deeper conversations with a hiring manager when they are looking to make that leap. So, again, in my mind, career pathing is, something where you might get lucky and kind of land in the right spot, but career prototyping is really taking that, into yourself, figuring out what skills do you need, what is in your control to work on. Again, pick one thing and build off of that, right? Work on that thing and then document it and share that out.
So I really like your suggestion of going on Medium and kind of like writing, not like a book report, but writing a report about what you learned. And then that way, when, you talked about it before, when you're in a remote job interview, that you can say, okay, here's this Medium article that I wrote about it. I could show what I've done. So whether it's Medium, whether it's a LinkedIn post that's really interesting, exciting, whether it is, oh gosh, what is another thing that we can say? Well, I'll use myself as example, is that someone said that they really like some of the infographics that I've been putting online. And so I went into Canva and I got myself a 30-day free trial.
Love Canva. Canva's so good.
Yeah, pro version. And I'm just going through it. It's not that I'm making graphics to put out there. Some I can, but I'm just fiddling. I'm fiddling around in Canva. I'm going to see what I can learn about infographics and graphic design. And then I'm adding that to my skill set. So to that point, there's so many places out there right now. Like, I know you want to learn a little bit more about remote work collaboration tools. I know that Remote HQ is also giving away a 30-day trial. There's so many places you can go and get 30-day trials to do what Alex said is career prototyping, if there's something you want to learn. But like he said, pick one.
Pick one, stick with it for 30 days, see what it's like. But because that makes all the difference in helping you stand out.
Awesome. So what is your philosophy regarding self-care during the job search? And I know you mentioned a little bit about this, but I not want to only know about like your philosophy, but I want to know, what you do for your self-care.
Great question. Thank you. So look, you can't put your best foot forward if you're not feeling at your best. I guess, and so as I'm thinking about the job search, right, it drains a lot of energy. There's a lot of rejection. And, one of the things I think is important and comes from kind of my roots in Penn or in positive psychology. Penn has a positive psychology center that I highly recommend. They're putting out a lot of really great stuff and having workshops, especially because of the pandemic, and a lot of that is cataloged for free. I should have added that to my cheat sheet, but anyway, I'll put a link to it on my company's website. But so when times get tough, start to think about the last time you were really excited about something, or the last time you were really motivated about something, and try to stay in that space and use sort of vibe off of that energy and allow that to propel you forward. I've realized that one of the things that really fills my cup is helping people. I love to help people on a variety of different things. And so right now I'm a research assistant for a mathematics education PhD student at Stanford. And we're working on a study on the professional teacher noticing of struggling middle school math students. And so I'm helping him code data because that just helps me feel like I'm contributing to society. I also have an awesome job search circle that Chuck Shooney is part of. And just so grateful for Chuck Shooney and Lorraine and Emily and Michael. And one of the things that I do is I'm the note taker. So I'm the one usually taking notes and like writing little details of what goals we want to hit for the week. And then I share that out, and that it fills my cup. It makes me feel like I'm helping people and I'm doing good. So, as we've discussed, it kind of all boils back down to to thy own self. I said I wasn't going to quote Hamlet. Damn it. Well, whatever. To thy own self be true, right? Like, know yourself, know what you need to recharge and when you need to recharge, and just make sure that you're honoring that. And you're going to get even more if you need to reschedule an interview, if you need to, sort of shuffle things around because the kids are, need to have their coursework during a certain time. You're going to get people who are in similar boats and understand where you're coming from. So, take care of you so that you can show up at your best rate.
So one of our LinkedIn, our guests here, sometimes LinkedIn doesn't, if you have your notifications, not your notifications, but you have some of your security turned on, they don't tell you who is commenting. So LinkedIn user who's commenting here, is it Com Squad? See, it's called,
or Calm Squad. Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah. We're the Calm Squad. Keep calm and carry on.
Thank you. And then going back to our conversation we were having about Canva, Rachel Werner, she said, I'm a huge fan of Canva, and that she uses it for every class handout presentation using that design tool. It's so user-friendly. So
100%. I love
100%.
it. Yeah. Anytime you need a logo, go to Canva.
And it's Lorraine that was the LinkedIn user that said the
Hey Lorraine, Calm Squad. Hey, I love it.
So as you have any comments or any questions for Alex and I, we love hearing from everybody that's in the audience. So whatever it is, just throw it in the comments. Like to say hi to everybody.
Thank you.
So as you can probably see, I've got some sunlight streaming in because I didn't close my shades. So I am trying to not reflect the glare of the sunlight in my face, which makes it a little hard to bring up my questions here.
Oh, almost through the official questions.
Yeah. So one of the things I said to Alex when we first, before we went live, I said, it's okay to laugh at our it's okay to laugh at ourselves if something happens because live streaming is not perfect.
Absolutely. We're bringing our true authentic selves right now.
Yeah.
For all of y'all.
So here is probably, I think, my absolute favorite question that you and I put together is what companies are doing a great job of engaging diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring in an intentional way from your perspective?
Great question. I love that. I mean, a lot of us have eyes on, which companies are taking clear, specific anti-racist stances right now with all that went on this summer and, the way America is right now in general. And I would say, I am by no means an expert on this. I look to Dr. Erica James, who's the new dean of Wharton, for a lot of, and all of her connections and folks on the PhD project as well. I think one of the things that's for sure is that everyone is very early on their next inclusion journey, right? One of the organizations I follow closely is Management Leadership for Tomorrow, which helps underrepresented minorities and people of color advance in the world of business. And they have a Black Equity at Work certification program. And you look at Amazon, you look at BCG, DaVita, PNC Bank, all of these folks have signed up on a 3 to 5 year journey with MLT to help sort of fix that specific issue. Another place that you can look is the best place to work lists for women, for working mothers, for LGBTQ folks. So a lot of the, no one's killing it right now, but a lot of folks seem like they're taking clear, specific measures in the right direction. And so I'm keeping my eye on all of those companies.
Okay. Because as a job seeker, I think that it's important if we're having some strategic foresight into the future of work, the companies that are making this a priority are going to be the companies that will succeed. I have to say that because, we're all human, we're all HR, we're all resourceful. And just to have non-inclusive practices, yeah. So again, looking towards the future and have someone who having foresight, you want to look into who are you a candidate for? Who are you applying with or who are you talking with?
And
So
one of the things I'll say is, well, when I first started my search journey, I didn't see myself as qualified to, get into a position or to work towards a position that was focused on DEI work. And now that I've been along my journey, I'm getting solid feedback. I have some interviews coming up for those types of roles. I realize, if not me, who, right? So, if you're interested in that space, don't be afraid to be the first one, but just be looking and checking for companies who are open to starting their journeys.
So just a comment from Taraji here. She said, "Fantastic question." Probably that was one of my favorites. So thanks, Taraji. And then from Asmara, hi Asmara. She's joining us from the UK, and she said, "Your shining bright face is always a joy to see." Thank you. So,
So true.
so Alex, do you know Asmara?
I do not. Hi,
Okay,
Smart.
so connect with her on LinkedIn. So we are, well, I was gonna say we're almost at the like 3/4 mark, but we're not there yet. So I've got a few more questions. So what is the best career advice you've learned and then taught to others?
Great question. You stole my thunder earlier, but it bears repeating, so I'm going to say it again. It's, don't take it personally. And this especially is targeted towards my Black and brown sisters and brothers, but it applies to everyone, right? No matter what comes your way, don't take it personally. Even if you should, even if you could, staying in that negative space is counterproductive. So take a second, count to 10, reflect on what you learned and what you'll do differently, and then keep it moving. Just keep going.
That is awesome. So, and to your point, I know it's hard. It's hard to not take things personally, especially if you are. I think you really have your hopes up about something, and then it kind of is disappointing. Going back to what Alex was saying, or what you were saying, is that that's time is, here's your self-care. Like when, call a friend.
That self-awareness piece is so important, because when you are more self-aware, then you naturally have more of that grit and resilience. When you're less self-aware, you're seeking external validation. When you're more self-aware, you have that internal validation. So if someone isn't giving you that validation externally, you're like, all right, on to the next, right? So, doing that internal self-work is really going to pay off dividends, not just for this moment, but for the rest of your career.
No, I firmly believe in self-care. I'll say that I'm not necessarily 100% practitioner of it always, because I tend to forget. I'm a mom, and that's where my brain
Absolutely.
goes first.
Mm-hmm.
But I was sat. It was a few days ago. I sat in my bedroom, and I'm just like, nope. Today I need to have some self-care. Like,
Good.
gotta do it. So we are now coming up on our quarter mark for the broadcast. So if there's any questions or comments that you have for Alex or I, mainly Alex, because he's the guest and he's the star of the show today, please go ahead and shoot them to us in the comments. And we have a few more questions that I have prepared, but if you have any questions, now's the time to ask before we end. So we just had another comment from Taraji. Great guidance. It's tough in the market, but sometimes rejection is projection. Wow,
Yes.
that's a knowledge bomb. Thank you. Yes, yes. And I like what you're doing. It's like, yeah. And more great advice. Self-care will help work on those triggers for sure, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. And it's not selfish to have self-care. So again, I had to tell myself that one over and over again. It's not
Got to
selfish.
put on your mask in the airplane, right? First.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So here is my absolutely last question. Well, I say that, but maybe not. So how can you help job seekers? Like, tell me a little bit about decision makers and what excuse me, blah, 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 what decision makers do, LLC does, And then I know that you have something for our audience today that they can use. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, decision makers, I'm here for y'all. I'm here for job seekers who feel stuck or undervalued at their current workplace. So, I offer 30-minute complimentary coaching sessions to folks if they just want to meet me. We'll get to know each other. I'll learn a little bit about your needs, and then we'll try to pull together some actionable next steps. I'm also offering, full job search strategy sessions for an hour long. And those are for folks who truly feel stuck and just need help pulling together kind of actionable next steps and being able to be held accountable for setting some goals and meeting it. And then I also offer an hour-long comprehensive mock interview. So if you are preparing for that big interview with Google and you want a little bit of help, or Amazon, and you want a little bit of help acing those leadership qualities and making sure that you're aligning yourself and your star stories, happy to walk through that as well. But my sort of ideology is to give you as much value as I can up front. So ideally, we meet for 30 minutes and then I don't hear from you again. No, of course I hear from you again, but it's good news, right? Like you got that 30 minutes and that's all you need. And to that vein, for the Progressive HR Live audience, I pulled together kind of my best of hits of resources that are out there, mostly free. I think one is paid, for building self-awareness, targeting companies, working on your search strategy, refreshing with your materials, building relationships, and interview practice. So I'm going to drop that in the Progressive HR portal. And then I will also have a link to it on my company's website, Decision Makers LLC, on LinkedIn. So yeah, looking forward to meeting a lot of you and helping you with your journeys.
And so I just wanted to clarify something that you say that your niche is those that are feeling that are with current companies that are looking to make a change, or you're also working with people who are open to work right now?
Both, absolutely.
Both. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And then just a little shameless plug for Progressive HR is if you are looking to revamp your LinkedIn profile, let me know. Anybody who's contacting me right now via DM, I will give you top 4 tips for your LinkedIn profile to help it optimize it, to help you find, not to help you find, but to help you get seen from those who are hiring right now. So again, free checklist, free complimentary checklist from Alex. And then if you DM me as well, free top 4 tips on your profile that I can give you that will help you in your job search. So we are now at the 10-minute mark. So we'll probably end a little bit early because I know that you all are very, very busy humans and have to get on to your next call. And you probably want to get like a cup of tea and relax a little bit before your next meeting. Mm-hmm. So we don't have Zoom fatigue. But I wanted to let you know what is coming up. So you can follow me, Corinne Wooden-Hollebeck, at Progressive HR on LinkedIn. And our next episode is Vidir Ragnarsson, and he is from Reykjavik Energy. He has been featured in the BBC for his work with closing the pay equity gap. Of course, we're going to be talking about closing the pay equity gap next week from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time, and that is next Thursday. We hope to see you all there. This is going to be a very interesting conversation. And then some upcoming episodes, we have Dr. Charlie Cartwright. We're going to be talking about behind the scenes for Dashcam Wisdom. David McLean, we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence in a Vuca world. Angela Nita, we're going to talk about virtual improv. And Simon Parsons, we're going to be talking about growth mindset. So as we are ending right now, Alex, do you have anything else that you'd like to say to the audience and our viewers? Do you have anything else that you'd like to ask Alex and I, or any comments? We're here for another about 5 minutes.
Corinne, I'd just like to thank you again for inviting me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk about you, talk with you about my 100% favorite thing. And thanks everyone for taking time out of your weeks and your busy time schedules to chat with us this afternoon. Really enjoyed it.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Oh, here we go. sometimes we have a little lag in that. So thank you for the amazing insights, says Asmara. Thank you very much, Asmara, for tuning in today all the way from the UK. Appreciate it. All right, back to here. Thank you. I wanted to say thank you very much, Alex, for joining me. I appreciate that we have built this relationship over LinkedIn the past 6 months since we started. And for a little background, I had made an announcement on LinkedIn regarding some of the projects I was working on, and I asked if there was anybody out there who was interested in helping me. And Alex was like, I'm here. What are you working on? I'd like to know about blockchain. I'd like to know about more about the exciting things. And I was like, that was just amazing. Like, that was so cool. LinkedIn, I think, is definitely a power move.
Absolutely. And all about that growth mindset, right? Yeah. We get better together.
Let's collaborate, you know? So Taraji says, thank you both. Great conversation. Thank you, Taraji, for joining us. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Mike from Texas and Mike from Texas. Thank you, Angelica from Texas as well. Thank you also, Lorraine, for joining us, and Rachel Werner and Chuck. Am I saying that right, Chuck Sooney? You know Chuck Sooney, right?
Chuck Shooney.
Chuck Shooney. Okay. Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you, Chuck Shooney. Thank you, everyone who has joined us. And as I got to say it again, thank you, Alex, so much. Really greatly appreciate it. So everybody, we're all tuning off a little early, but thank you for watching Progressive HR Live, and we'll see you next week. And now I have to see, oh my goodness. I can't, oh goodness. There we go. Ending broadcast now. Sorry about that. It's the sunlight. Thanks, everyone.